guys, it's Mr. MS-DOS again. I have two mildly successful selling video game consoles in the fourth generation here. Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis. Now, a lot of people have been wondering which console was the better one to get. Some people turned to this, basically everyone turned to this Super Nintendo, while every one of those stupid British people turned to the rip-off console. So, which one is better? Now, this is not in my opinion. If it was in my opinion, the Super Nintendo would automatically win, because it has more Mario games and all the other stuff. And so yeah, so let's get into it. In specs, the SNES was a huge leap over the 8-bit NES, as it could use 3D graphics. Plus, it had a whopping 36,768 colors on screen at one time, plus an 8-channel ADPCM audio chip. But you could only use the 3D with the Super Effects chip. And how you know that your cartridge has a Super Effects chip is if you look at the actual pins and that there's two separate, I would call them horns. But when we look at the Sega Genesis, however, there's not that much to explore. There's absolutely no 3D capabilities, and even if you think that Sonic 3D Blast was 3D, it only used 3D pre-rendered sprites, just like Donkey Kong Country on the Super Nintendo. I think we can safely say that the Super Nintendo won in this category. The Super Nintendo had 783 games released on the system, but that's only the official games. But when we look at the Sega Genesis, it has 897 titles. You might think the Genesis would win, but no. Most of those titles were crappy arcade ports, and you know that arcade games sucked in the mid to late 90s, so I think we can safely say that the Super Nintendo won in this category. The Super Nintendo has a buttload of accessories, from the Super Game Boy to the Super Nintendo Mouse to the Satellaview to the SNES Advantage. While the only Sega Genesis add-on I can think of is the Sega 32X and the Sega CD. So the Super Nintendo clearly wins in this category. Well, there you have it. So it turns out that the SNES is more capable than the Sega Genesis. And another thing that makes this console stand out is that there's a bunch of there's a bunch of great games, and it's even considered one of the greatest video game consoles of all time by many people around the world. Anyways, why are you so good? Anyways, so I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you like and subscribe.